Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with reference recording. And today we're talking about Mahler's Seventh Symphony, the stepchild of all of the Mahler symphonies. And the reference recording, you know what it is. It's this one. Leonard Bernstein and the New York Philharmonic. Of course, it has to be. It's not that this was necessarily the first one. It wasn't. But it was hands down the one that put the music on the map. And how did it do that? Why did it do that? Well, first of all, you have Bernstein's identification with Mahler's idiom, which, whether you like his performances or don't like his performances, is really undeniable. Second of all, there wasn't a lot of competition. There was a little bit, but there wasn't a lot. And certainly none of it that sounded this good or that was played this well or that had such a natural, idiomatic flow to it. You know, one of the things about Bernstein that people talk about, is his crazy emotionalism and jumping up and down and hopping about and all of that stuff. But I've said this a million times, when you actually listen to what he does and you take a look at the score, what the composer wants, you find often as not that the histrionics have a justification in what the composer actually intended. And that is especially true of his Mahler, where he is extraordinarily faithful to the actual text. And boy, is that the case here. It really, this is an amazing symphony. I mean, we all know that, right? It's not the most obviously emotional of all of Mahler's symphonies. It doesn't have a coolness, but one of the things that Mahler really did was expand the range of the types of feelings that music expressed, or expressed to a certain degree. One of those things actually is ambiguity, I would say. This idea, this spooky, creepy, twilight, ironic sometimes, jokey, but not really. But what exactly is it doing? And the seventh is like that. It's Mahler's most modernist sounding score. It's quite dissonant, particularly the first movement. After that, things even out somewhat. And it's beautifully structured in a perfect five-movement Bartokian, as we used to call it in the business, arch form. That is, you have quick outer movements, two serenade-like second and fourth movements, and then a third movement, scherzo, which is the fulcrum for the whole thing. It's really just beautifully put together. It uses similar thematic material to the sixth, which is tragic and fateful and just an expressionist nightmare in terms of its emotional intensity. But the opening theme of the first movement, dum bum ba da 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 dum, is extremely similar to the opening of the sixth, da dum ba ba da dum. Almost exactly the same, but it's used to completely different emotional ends. And that's what makes the seventh such a marvelous piece in its own right, because it uses some very similar materials to those that we hear in other Mahler symphonies, but does it in a totally unique way. And that's why Mahler was a genius, and that's one of the things that Bernstein reveals to us in this particular performance. He really does. It's an astonishing achievement in that respect, too. So when this came out, it was in the, what was this, the late 60s, I think? Let me look and see. There are actual dates here. Of course, I need a magnifying glass to see them. There we go. Here's the magnifying glass. Oh, there it is. Originally released in 1966. I mean, there was no tradition of Mahler performance in 1966 that really meant anything, nor were there any recordings of this symphony. And people sort of felt that, well, you have to do the seventh, but nobody really likes it. People are sort of warming up to, Mahler's first, maybe the Resurrection Symphony. The fourth, of course, was sort of out there. But this one was a mystery. It was a puzzle. And it was a puzzle that Bernstein solved. And he solved it by taking the music completely at face value. That crazy finale, the that everyone says is a total failure, which is one of the most fascinatingly complex and delightful and funny. Oh my gosh, it's hysterically funny. Rondos in the history of Western music. I mean, if you look at the form, which I've I outlined in my book on the Mahler symphonies. It's a rondo on steroids. A rondo is a piece that usually has the form A B A C A. That's a classical rondo, right? 5 parts, A B A C A. You can stretch them out a little bit more, A B A C A D A. Well, this one is like A B A C A D A E A F A B A C A C A D E A. It's like and it all happens in about 16 or 17 minutes, in totally unexpected and amusing ways, with all kinds of eccentric bits of musical objects, tchotchkes, little pseudo Asian things and whatnot thrown into the pot. It's so much fun, and the way it works is the way Bernstein does it, which is not by overthinking it, by letting it happen, just letting it all hang out there the way it's supposed to. He also has an absolutely fabulous sense of the music's texture, its twilight moments, the tango in the second movement, which, I'm sure Mahler didn't know or didn't think about whether or not it was actually a tango, but it is. Dum, ba-da-da-da-dum. Yeah, da da dum da 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 dum do 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 do, with it, sung out by the 2 cellos. It's great. It's just great. I mean, there's so many strange and spooky little sounds. The harp and mandolin in the fourth movement, which is the second Nachtmusik, night music. The squeals and screeches in the scherzo, the snap pizzicato on the basses. It's called a Bartók pizzicato, actually, because Bartók made it famous when you pull the string so hard that it snaps back against the fingerboard of the instrument, and it goes click, like that. And we have a couple of those in the scherzo. I mean, it's really, really cool. All these fabulous sounds, and then never mind the fact that Bernstein's tempos are all logical. Everything relates beautifully to everything else. The symphonic aspect is beautifully brought out. It's an amazing performance, an absolutely amazing performance. And it was for that reason. It's the one against which all others are measured. Of course, Bernstein re-recorded the 7th with the New York Philharmonic. I was at those performances, actually, and they're marvelous on Deutsche Grammophon. They are marvelous, but there's a certain freshness, I think, to this version, a sense of discovery that the other one doesn't quite recapture, because by then it was a known commodity. And everybody was doing Mahler cycles. Kubelik and Haitink, who also did a wonderful Mahler 7th with the Concertgebouw, and Michael Gielen's 7th, which is, fantastic for all the screechy ugliness that he highlights over the course of the music. And then Abato did one with Chicago, and all the Mahler people started piling on, and we had a bazillion Mahler 7ths in connection with all of the other Mahler cycles. But this one still stands out. It stands out for its richness of texture. It stands out for its color, its immediacy and impact. But most importantly, I think it stands out because it does just what Mahler wants it to do, wants the interpreters to do. It's so well thought out and so beautifully projected, and it's played as if, this weird eldritch, I love that word, this weird eldritch, bizarre symphony with its strange emotional ambivalence, its nocturnal, spookiness and all of those qualities. It's played as if it's the most natural thing in the world, something that we experience all the time. And I don't mean in that way to say that it's not it's not special in any way, or that it's an average performance. It's not. It's a right performance. And for that reason, it is the référence, the version de référence. Absolutely. Absolutely. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.